Happy to get moving here. This is going to be good. Really want to show folks Ireland here, and that was really part of the reason we wrote the novel, and more novels to come around Green Island, but Hard Border, Enchanted Land with World of Secrets is our first one, and I think it's a pretty good intro to what we're talking about and kind of current state of Ireland.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be a real eye opener for the readers, and hopefully this podcast does the same. And hopefully, lessons learned of kind of what we saw from Ireland and what's being pretty much extrapolated across the Western world now. I really honestly think our experiences in Ireland, the little island of 4 million people, have really opened the eyes of kind of what I believe the powers that be are going to do for the rest of the world. Because right now, the people of Ireland are not in a good place. The citizens, but maybe the country might be booming economically, but that's not funneling down or trickling down to the people. It's staying at the elite level and mostly going
Yeah.
to, but it's certainly not going to the people. And anybody who did make money pre-Celtic Tiger, they're not making any more money. They're not allowed to develop, and there's certainly the banks are not active and haven't been for 10 years. So I think the world has to kind of, this is a real eye opener for them. So it's a great idea that do the podcast and get it out there on top of the book, and hopefully people start reading it, and we'll get it out there any way we can.
Awesome. So, do we want to introduce ourselves and take it from there?
Go ahead.
Sure. So, I'm Bernard Sheehan, a co author of Hard Border. And again, as you can tell from our accents, I'm an American here, but have deep roots in Ireland, talking about our experience not as kind of children growing up and playing with cousins and things of that nature, but living and working in Ireland as expat and really trying to make an impact. So, it's interesting once we were there and working in that environment, kind of how you saw things differently. So that's my perspective.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. As you know, my name is James Sheehan. I'm the brother of Bernard Sheehan. I'm also the co-author of Hard Border. And I guess, it's kind of a loosely interpretation of my experiences in Ireland. So I was an expat in Ireland over 20 years, jumping back and forth between Ireland and the US, and treated like an expat. And Ireland, although it's quite open, expats are, it's not as open as you think. The expats stick together.
You're still a foreigner.
You're still a foreigner. You'll always be a foreigner. It doesn't matter. You're almost a foreigner. If you kind of don't grow up there up to the point of college, maybe you can sneak in there in high school and college, and you might be considered a local. But if you didn't go there, we spent what every summer of our lives in Ireland growing up, but always the expat, always the foreigner, always the American, quote unquote. And it was a real eye opener because you're going to Ireland thinking it has the same opportunities that America had, or the same kind of laws that America has. Kind of, they're all based on the English, system of legals, but it's a far cry from that. And there's a lot of bureaucracy, and hopefully, this podcast will certainly enlighten the reader as to how the movement of socialism is kind of coming to America, where, in Ireland, all the institutions are pretty much been taken over, and they're all, run by the government in one way, shape, or form. And it's, a real, it'll be good to see how we explore the various topics. So, and the reader should, or the listener should really have a real eye opener, because they don't see it. It's not the fun, St. Patrick's Day party when you're going, if you're going
Right.
over there. Of course, you can have
Right.
parties, and the Army Navy game or the Notre Dame Navy game in Dublin is great at Croke Park, and going down to Temple Bar and, having a great time, and I had great times in Temple Bar a lot of times, where I met celebrities. Like, a lot of Ireland's kind of home to a lot of celebrities that don't want to pay taxes.
Right.
They have a special tax exemption for authors and actors. So I used to see Dr. Cox from Scrubs hanging around all the time. He
Yeah.
would just be in the corner of the odd bar, or then like Beyonce and Jay-Z would come over for a big concert and they'd be down in Temple Bar, and or their sister would be. And it's kind of that's kind of how you see it. Ireland's very small, but people pop out of the woodwork. Bill Clinton, he would be popping into the hotel when I'd be
Sure
there.
would.
What Bono would be following in, and they would be having whatever secret meetings they want to have. And it would always then end up at like a sing song down the street at O'Donoghue's.
Yep.
So I think, I know it well. I know all the places in Dublin. It was a real great experience. I mean, I must say, like, you know, but I think the world has to understand what goes on, and it's not just all parties. It's a different way of life now, and hopefully we can shed that light on for
Well,
people.
you talk about that tax exemption. I mean, that's for artists, right? That's what that tax exemption is around. That gives them a lot more, where they're paying little to no income tax. So that's why you see you two actually still living there. Perhaps that's probably one of the main reasons. But it's also bringing in other artists and folks who want to set up shop for that. But as you say, it's a lot of fun if you don't wear out your welcome and you're just there for a little bit. But when you're there for an extended period of time and you're trying to make a living there and make an impact, that's really when it kind of comes out, right? Some of the, let's be honest about it, it's corruption, and it's kind of an old boys network. And the thing that I think people need to understand, or kind of get a feel for, is that Ireland, even though it looks fairly big, it's relatively unpopulated compared to, like, England and kind of Britain in general. There's millions upon millions of people there. I think it's something like 50 million plus or something along those lines. I don't have the number right in front of me, but Ireland,
Yeah, about 60 million, I think, roughly in
yeah,
the UK.
yeah. And in Ireland, what is it, like four, maybe five? And that's only at a
Yeah, four and a
population
half.
bomb. Yeah. But it was as low as three even a couple of years ago, or, maybe 20, 30 years ago, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
I think it
So,
was 9 million during the like Great Famine, or the
right.
famine of, like, what was that? So 9 million, and
Yeah,
now it's still down to 4. I mean, it's a closed shop, man. It's really is. And it's one degree of separation. And
that's it.
I mean, they target you by your accent. I mean, you think like America has different accents. I mean, Ireland has more accents than America. If you go, I think there's something like 30 counties or some odd, and each one has a different accent. And that's how where people are from, whether it's
Right.
Dublin, where you have a Dublin slang, or you're from Cork and you have a different, or you're from Kerry, which is on the west south. Everybody has a different accent, and that's how they recognize you. And that's the box you're put into even today, or at least it was when I was there.
Yeah.
The Corkers didn't really like the Dubliners, but had to work in Dublin and vice versa. And they still go home. A lot of people still go home every weekend.
Yeah.
Their home birds are like, and it's that kind of tribal mentality that is rife there. And so if you're American coming in, they like you, they want to talk to you, they're very friendly, but they don't want to compete against you.
Right.
And it's kind of like
That's
we got to
fair.
put up, and that's it. It's less like, and I was going in like, the American, we're going to make some money, we're going to kick some butt, everybody get on board, we'll all make money. And Ireland's not like that. It's like, if I'm making money, someone else is losing money.
Right.
That's their mentality. There's only a certain amount of wealth to go around, and it funnels up to the top where, it's like the crime bosses, the top get their piece no matter what. And
Yeah.
that's, a recipe for disaster. And it is. I mean, it's a wreck of a country now, as you can see by the riots, but that's not even scratching the surface. I mean, there's a lot of problems there now. And it's just because of the simple fact is everybody's poor and they're not happy, you
Yeah.
know?
It's a scarcity mindset there, right? Like you said, if you're winning or you're doing well, somebody else is losing and doing poorly. And that's really, I understand that. And I think we've got a lot of that in certain communities here in America as well. Or maybe there's an undertone of that here in the States. But that's a country that was just built upon oppression for hundreds of years. So it's really built into the DNA. And it's hard to get past, and I don't think I don't think people are even really trying to get past it. That's the system that they work in, and even during kind of the Celtic Tiger days, or now, where folks are saying, hey, things are better than ever, or there is that thought process. It's not real. It's there. It's still going to be the same as it always has been.
100%. I mean, you even see it in America. You see the press secretary saying that like the economy's strong and America's doing great, and it's like no one's feeling that, no one's seeing that. You're living in a bubble, and that's the propaganda Ireland's punching out. It's like we're doing great, and everybody's doing well, but everybody works for the man now. Like the pre-Celtic Tiger days, or the Celtic Tiger days, was a great era because everybody thought that they can make it themselves.
Yes.
I could get into development. I have a little bit of equity. I'll buy a property. The property price is going up. Oh, wow, I made some more equity. I'll buy another property. I'll maybe, get planning permission on a piece of land. And, development's such a great way to kind of increase your wealth so quickly through property. And it's tangible. You can do the numbers very quickly. There's going to be people that need houses or apartments. So it's just like if you can build it, you'll sell them, and you know what the price is. And if the price is going up, you're just seeing your profits going higher even before it's built. And like that's where it really got into. The Celtic Tiger really never got off the ground. It got off the ground for a few people, but everybody, like, it kind of was almost a trap because
Yeah.
they pulled the rug out from under everybody during like when they were just starting to get going. Because like let's say the first few developers just started making it big, and like everybody's like, great, I can get into that. And then people are buying houses and they're kind of wanting to get that kind of traction going. And next thing is just like boom, the property recession of 2008 to 2012 or beyond pulled the rug out from everybody. So the equity that they thought they had to build their empire was taken from them, including everything they had. And
Yeah.
it was quick and it was swift, and there was no recourse in the judicial system. I mean, they locked that down quick, and that's the benefit of a little petri dish like Ireland. You can do that where the rest of the world can't really see what you're doing, but you're kind of like, oh, we got the big, IT companies here, and Google's headquarters, and all the big headquarters are here for the big banks, and we're doing great, and we're in fact, yeah, that's great for like the top tier, but everybody else. So what you then have to do is you have to go work for the man, and a lot of people, that's where they're all now. They're working for the man, but they're like their salaries aren't even close. They've been in a salary freeze, I would say, for 20 years,
Yeah.
just like America, where it's just like no one can get any traction, and the banks are closed now, and they're all owned by the government anyway that took them over during the Great Recession. You think, oh, they'll buy them, they'll fix them, and they'll sell them. They haven't sold them yet. They're still holding a majority of the stock for almost all the banks,
Yeah.
and they're not lending. And if you want money, they're already lending to their oligarch friends, and that are going to give them a piece or however they have it set up, always through offshore entities. So it's a real eye opener. I think Ireland, you just wouldn't think it, but they're not happy. And, because there's no future, there's no kind of, they're slaves. If that's
Right.
what, maybe people want to go work for the man or work for Google and make, 100 grand, or 200 grand or whatever you make. But when you want to kind of, go to that next level that you see, the big guys, that everybody in, like the American attitude. I don't begrudge someone who's successful. I want to be that guy. But literally, my first week in Ireland, my cousin, who I kind of stayed with when I first lived there, he's like, "You don't know Ireland.
Right.
Ireland is a bowl of crabs. Like if anybody's crawling up the side, they jump on top of you and drag you back down. It's just." And Bono, I think, went on the Jay Leno show
I
like
was going
20
to
years
go
ago. It's
there.
like,
I was going to go there.
you
That's
know,
exactly that. Yeah, go ahead. Tell
go
the
ahead.
story, though, for
Yeah.
folks who haven't. I
Yeah.
think maybe it was Conan, but one of those talk
Oh
shows.
yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, where it's just like you don't, when you see a rich big house on the hill, the American attitude is one day I'll live in there and I'll buy that house. And in Ireland, it's just like one day I'll burn that house to the ground,
Yeah, I'm going to get
or
that
something
asshole.
along that line,
Yeah.
and that's really it. And that
I wanted to ask you something I've been curious about. I've encountered this, being an Irish person, I've encountered it a little bit myself, which is an Irish mentality, which is good for you, but don't get a big head. Meaning they're happy for you, but it's a very tricky culture where they don't want you to get too big. And I think this must be a problem for you guys because you're some of the biggest stars in the world, but you go home to your country. Do you encounter that feeling ever?
You know, it's an amazing place to escape to. And Ireland is it's a really cool place to live and to bring up your kids and all of that kind of thing. But one of the reasons is because Irish people are so messy. And it's very different than in America. In America, you know, you look up the mansion on the hill and you say, you know, one day I'm going to live in that mansion. In Dublin, where we come from, especially on the north side, people look at the mansion on the hill and go, one day I'm going to get that son of a bitch. You know, it's a different thing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
You know, but that's being extrapolated across the world now, because even though maybe, you know, I'm in my mid 40s or whatever, I at least got a taste of it, even though I wasn't able to complete it. But the younger generation, there's not even a taste. There's no future. There's no hope for kind of getting in there, because how are you going to scratch together some equity to get off the ground unless you have like a famous YouTube account or something? Like, you can't just do it the traditional way, because it seems like all the paths are closed, where if you look like the generation above us, it's like, oh, that guy was successful as a doctor or a lawyer or like a developer. It's like, yeah, because the opportunities were growing so rapidly that, you know, I could get into making, you know, chips, you know, or something like that. And then, you know, when Target only had 3 brands of chips, now you go to Target, there's 50, you know, including Takis and stuff like that. So it's just like every kind of place is closed off, and they're all bought out by, you know, the big companies in the end. So there's kind of, I can see kind of the unrest there, because like I'm talking to a lot of Irish guys that had, you know, literally hundreds of millions in property, and, you know, like they were 50, 55 and, you know, just living the life, and, you know, it all got swept out from under them, and they're just like, great, you know, I'll make it again. I have great ideas, you know, I'll build again. I built it once. They can't go to a bank. They can't go to private equity. No one's touching them unless they're like connected, and they don't even know. And it's really frustrating. And it's almost like it's pretty crazy. And they're you know, so it's just shedding a light, because this is happening. This is just being extrapolated out, where there's only a few at the top that are getting all the plum deals, and you see the wealth divide is just getting bigger. Well, that's the reason, because they won't let anybody else get up, you know?
And I think these are the sorts of things we want to talk about and kind of highlight, is the reason we wrote the first novel in our series under Green Island Novels, and also the stories we want to bring here to folks, you know, whether it's on a weekly basis, we'll see what kind of rhythm we get into, but really, you know, talk about the truth and the reality, and some of the crazy stories that we've heard, and, you know, the things you wouldn't believe if you kind of grew up thinking of Ireland as just kind of the quiet man, or, you know, Darby O'Gill and the Little People or something ridiculous like that, where it's not that. It's a different environment. It's in a, you know, a place that is maybe broken, might be the word, but, you know, as you talked about and you said, kind of that petri dish and place where things are being tested and tried, and to various levels of success. And then sometimes you see things that they're getting reactions maybe they didn't want. So, you know, I think these are the sorts of things we want to talk about as we go through this.
A big time. And I think, like, even like if you look at the picture of Hard Border that we have up on the screen, I mean, like, you see the druids around the fire. I mean, that is every day. That's real time now. It's a big frat club. I mean, if you don't do your dues, and more importantly, if they haven't dirtied you up, you're not going anywhere. You know, I've seen guys that have no business taking, like, running companies, let's say, you know, car companies in Ireland or something like that, because they're just a private equity, you know, because they were shoveling money around and they did some due diligence on helping someone buy a particular company. They're put in a CEO, but they're put in CEO just to babysit, to make sure that the money's safe, but they have no business there. But there's only a few, so they have to spread the wealth. So you really have to kind of do your time in, should we say, the behind the scenes work, you know, the dark arts of business now, as I call it, because it's not straightforward. And if what you're seeing is not really what you're getting, you know, and it's kind of like, I've seen, you know, it's kind of like going back to the American kind of way of life, like this, the Jake O'Sullivan, the guy who's, you know, national security advisor, you take a look at him, it's just like, who do you know? How did you get in this job? You know, you're not a brain, like, or, you know, it's always kind of some type of connection. You went to Yale, or Ireland is like that on steroids, you
Well,
know,
yeah.
except they don't go to the top schools, you know?
And as you said, I mean, it's such a small country from a population standpoint. There's that one degree of separation where everybody knows everybody. And there's kind of that, if you like, everyone has something on folks, on each other, and there's also extended family. So it's really that dynamic, you know, that corruption. When you think of like corrupt cities here in the States, Ireland is an entire country that way, you know, like you said, on steroids. And you know, it's really sick, but there, it is what it is.
It's lockdown, man. I mean, literally, like that one degree of separation. If you're in the bad books of, should we say, the secret society or the top brass, I mean, they will attack you. They will go after your family, and then but like, and your family better play ball. Like, you know, when I didn't play ball, they went after my cousins and were threatening their business, or so I presume, to kind of like keep an eye on what I'm doing, any family secrets. And if you don't play ball, like you're gone. But somehow the cousins miraculously got their loans refinanced when no one else did. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just like, this is, you know, or they're getting top jobs in places they shouldn't. And it's just like, yeah, you took, you know, as we say in the book and in the, you know, Ireland, old Ireland, you took the soup. And the soup is kind of like an old reference to the famine when the English used to like, they would give the poor soup if you kind of denounced your Catholic faith, which was the faith of Ireland at the time. It was kind of, you know, it's a Braveheart mentality, but it's alive and well, and it's rife now. It's like making a comeback.
Yeah.
Big time. And it's there's a big final push, but Ireland, again, a perfect petri dish, because that one degree of separation, we can get to you. We can get to your family because we own the banks. We can get to your kids because we own the universities. We can get to your, you know, your family because we own the hospitals. They own every little bit. We're monitoring you because we have a connection with we own the telecoms, you know. And that's virtually what Hard Border is. It's just going to all these stories where it's just like, it's the ultimate police state, where it's like you go to the police and you're just like, hey, you know, these guys I found corruption in my business, and, you know, the new shareholders are doing stuff, and the police are next thing the police are knocking on your doors, coming to say, oh, by the way, you haven't, you know, we're investigating you for something.
That's right.
You know, and that's it. The police are not there to police people. They're there to enforce the, you know, the deep state's wishes. They're like, you know, almost like the FBI for the US now, you know. They're coming to knock on your door if you're not playing ball. And they're going to come, you know, they're looking for the crime, or they're going to make up the crime, you know. And that's why I don't go to Ireland anymore, because you just can't. If you have a grievance against them and you're actively pursuing it in the courts, you know.
Yeah. And I think these are the things we want to highlight. So more to come here. You know, I think it's a pretty good intro in general for folks. So hopefully people find this interesting. Again, we'll be bringing stories, and please feel free to buy Hard Border. That's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. We're also putting it on YouTube as well, reading that out and getting the audio version out there, because we want to share this, and we really hope that people like it and get a different view of really the reality of Ireland. But we'll talk about that more. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll twice a week or twice a week or something. Just have a quick conversation and get it out there, and hopefully we get some followers. And yeah, again, read the book. It's a real eye opener. And where I started, we already have the second book outlined, and we're moving on the third. So we got a nice little series of books that will come out that will kind of tie all this together. But people will learn a lot. I mean, again, I went to I'm somewhat educated. I went to, you know, University of Chicago MBA, and they don't teach this at MBA. I mean, I don't have a really much value in an MBA anymore, because they don't teach you this stuff. And this is the real business. Anybody can learn accounting from YouTube. Anybody can learn, but I mean, you know, it's all legals, and it's all trickery, and it's all deception. And that's what we got to get out there for everybody. So it's really great.
Yeah. So appreciate it. And we'll have more kind of coming down the road here. So thanks so much, Jay. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right.
Take
Talk
care.
to you. Bye.